Hello again.
Hello again, long time no see.
Yeah, tell me, where did you guys finish last week? Because I wasn't here.
I don't know. I'm running blind today.
Oh, okay.
I don't have my book.
Oh, you're not home?
I'm in Hong Kong.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Again for a day and a half?
Yeah, till Thursday. Till tomorrow.
Let's see who else is there. Larry, Harold.
Hi, Mario.
Hi. Hi. Where did you guys finish last week? I wasn't able to attend.
I think 75. I think that's what around that.
75?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
What do you mean, you were not here?
I know I was there.
Oh, Sean Ferguson? Sean Ferguson?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna bring my other glasses. ¿Qué pasa, gorda?
Really beautiful beach, Mario. I'm jealous.
Ajá. ¿Qué pasa?
Yes, Tammy, I'm on the shear.
It's that beach is from Uruguay. Not Hawaii, it's not the Far East, not the Middle East, nothing. It's Hawaii, it's Uruguay.
Got it.
So which page? 75?
Good evening, everybody.
Okay.
I
What page did we leave off on, Saul?
Oh, that's great. I've been asking because I wasn't here.
77,
Oh, 77,
Okay,
okay,
let's close.
a defective cup, pos pogum.
okay.
The Gemara Masechta Pros, we're dealing with Kiddush. And we're on page 77, George. Again, I'm reminding everybody, December 10th, Tuesday night, we're having a party at our house. Like the Tzurba people are flying in from Israel to give everybody certificates. There's gonna be nice refreshments. Everybody's invited with their wives.
Light refreshment.
Yes, light refreshments. Sushi, cake. So it'll be 2 weeks from tonight. We won't be learning that week. It'll just be party. Now, we talked last week about how much you have to drink, mole lugma, the cheekful, whether all the people on the table could be mitzaref, that mole lugma. So there's the Gemara in Psachim introduces another element to the halachos of Kiddush that relates to the cup of wine. The Gemara infers from Baraisa that tasting from a cup of wine renders the cup pagum, unsuitable to be used for a subsequent mitzvah. It says in Masechta Psachim Kufei Amid Beis, Tanya, anichnas lebeisa b'motzei Shabbos. Comes home from shul Saturday night. He needs to make Havdalah. What does he do? Mavarch ala yayin, v'ala mor, v'ala psamim. We actually do it the opposite way. We first do psamim, then mor. V'achar kach omer Havdalah kos. Then you say Amadu ben Kodesh l'chol. V'im ein lo ela kos echad. Now, let's say a person is very poor and doesn't have a lot of wine. And for Shalosh Shudas, they had a kos that they were going to use to bench on. So you don't drink from it. Menicho ad lachra mazam, u'mishalshlim kulon lachrav. And you leave that kos, and you leave it to Havdalah. And then all the brachos of Havdalah are made on that kos. Shmami Noah, Taimo Pogmo. We learn from here that don't drink from that kos of benching when you finish all the shudas. It says leave it. Don't drink from it. Leave it until the Havdalah. We learn from here the concept that if you drank from it, you would make that kos pogum. You would damage, it would make it defective, and you wouldn't be able to use it for the other mitzvah. Rav Yaakov Baridi kopid achatz v'pekima. Rav Yaakov was concerned about a defective pitcher, meaning he wouldn't make Kiddush or Havdalah with that receptacle if somebody had tasted from it. Ravidi bar shesha kopid achatz v'pekima. Not only a pitcher, which is used for multiple people, but even one cup, if somebody had drank from it, he would not make Kiddush with it. Mar Ravashi kopid afilo achavita b'kmimosa. That means if a barrel of wine had previously been opened for something else, he wouldn't make Kiddush from that barrel. He wanted to make Kiddush from an unopened barrel. So the generally accepted halacha is that there is no absolute obligation to recite Birchas Hamazon over a cup of wine, which is contrary to this brisa. However, when using a cup of wine for Birchas Hamazon, the inference that drinking from the cup previously disqualifies it for use, that's accepted as halacha. The same applies to the cup of wine used for Kiddush. One should not use a cup that has already been drunk from. The Rosh extends this concept to all those individuals on behalf of whom Kiddush is recited. Although there's no obligation for all of them to drink, it is meritorious for them to do so. But only if they drink from a cup that has not been drunk from. If they have already drunk from their cups, wine from the Kiddush cup should be added to their cups in order to fix the defect before the one reciting Kiddush drinks from it. And this is why when we make Kiddush, we don't drink from it and give it out to people. We give it out first, where you pour it into one of those things that it pours to all the different little cups to avoid this problem of drinking from it and giving to somebody else. It's also not very hygienic to do it that way. Ein tzarcha mevarech la'atel mikos lekos echad. The person who makes Kiddush, you're not obligated to pour from his cup into everybody else's cup. As long as the cup that they had not been drunk from. So now we're learning something else. If they had a cup in front of them that they had drunk from, you can cure their cup by pouring from your cup, which is the kosher bracha, into their cup. And you should do it before the one who recited Kiddush drinks from his cup. And then everyone should wait until the one who made Kiddush drinks from his cup. Right? Then everyone should wait until the one who made Kiddush drinks. The Ra'ah, who was another Rishon, disagrees. Maintain that only the cup used for Kiddush must not be defective. So first of all, your guests don't have to drink from that kos who one who made Kiddush. Also, kikar shabarchubo. They have no strict obligation to taste from the bread that the guy who made Amotzi on. Loishna bein shashar kosos, it makes no difference whether the other kosos are not pogum or shein pogumim. Shlo yitzricha kos she'enu pogum el also kos she'mevarch malav. The only issue regarding a kos pogum is that the cup that you're using to make Kiddush, that should not be. Now, this dispute is based on how to understand a passage in the Yerushalmi in Brachos, which states that if the other participants require the cup of the person reciting Kiddush, they must wait for him to drink before they do. According to the Rosh, what does it mean they require? They require the cup of the person reciting Kiddush to be poured into their own if their own cups are defective. The Ra'ah understands simply that they only require the cup of the person reciting Kiddush if they do not have their own cups. Now, group of people eating bread during the week. So then there's no chiyuv, let's say on Monday or Tuesday, you're eating with somebody who makes a motzi, you don't have to eat from his bread. Now, on Shabbos, you have the mitzvah of lechem mishnah. So there it may require each participant to partake of a piece from the chalot used by one reciting the bracha. Unless each person at the table has lechem mishnah in front of them, then of course you wouldn't have to do that. But if only the balabas has the lechem mishnah, and he's the one who makes the bracha, hamotzi, over the lechem mishnah, then there is a chiyuv that in order to share in that aspect of the mitzvah of lechem mishnah, you have to take a piece of that challah that the balabas cuts and gives out to the people. The Shulchan Aruch paskins like the Rosh. Ein tzarich lishpoch mikos makadesh lekosas yain shlifnei hamesubin. You don't have to pour from the person who made kiddush into the other kosas. El im ken hayu pugumim, unless the people around the table have kos pugumim. Then as tzarich lishpoch lekol kos v'kos kadei sheyishtu kulam mikos she'ein hapog. The Sharat Tziyun points out that if the other participants drink directly from the cup of the person reciting Kiddush, it is not necessary to add more wine to this cup. If they all pass around that kos, the blessing, the kos of blessing, the one who was, even if the person who made Kiddush drank first, Mikri mikosha in a pogum. It's still okay, because when he drank, no one had drank from it before, so it's not considered a kosher pogum. The chashuvin kemekadesh gufa. And everybody else is treated like they made kiddush. V'rak kishashofech mikosa lekosan. It's only if he's pouring from the kosher bracha into their cup. Be'inan sheyishbach kodem sheyishteh be'atzmo. That all has to happen before he drinks. Practically, Rav Simcha Bunim Cohen offers two ways to distribute Kiddush wine to those around the table without creating a problem of them drinking wine that is pogum. When one makes Kiddush for others, it is desirable that each participant partake of the Kiddush wine. Preferably, the wine they are given should not be pogum. Therefore, the person recited Kiddush should not pour from the cup he drank into the listener's cup, because once he drank from the cup, he makes it pogum. But he should adopt one of the following courses. After completing the Kiddush, but before drinking the wine, he should pour some wine from the Kiddush into a second cup. I think many of us do that. I know my wife sits next to me at Kiddush, and I leave a revius in my kos, and I pour as much as possible into her kos, that's the second kos, and she distributes from that second kos to everybody at the table. Right? Care should be taken that a revius remain in the cup from which he drinks, and then you pour from the second cup into the cups of all the other participants. Or he should drink a molo ligma from his Kiddush cup and then pass that very cup to each of the other participants. Since they are drinking directly from the Kiddush cup, the wine is not considered pogum. I don't think, since COVID or in general, most people do that in the Western societies. But see Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa, who recommends this option, this last one. See Rav, who recommends a different solution, of pouring wine or grape juice into the cup of each participant beforehand, which is, in his opinion, still renders each cup a kosher bracha, since every person listens to Kiddush with his individual cup. I've certainly seen that minhag as well, where people pour wine into their own cup while they're listening to the person making Kiddush. Any comments from anybody?
People do that.
Yeah, Ernie, in cases when you have, let's say, a whole bunch of kids at the table, and there won't be enough to live a revius in your own cup. I see people, and they add wine or
Yes, well, so you pour again into that second cup,
yeah,
pour more wine into the original coast of Kiddush. And remember, you haven't drank anything.
correct, right.
So, and then you pour it into that second cup. That therefore it comes from the kosher bracha, as opposed to pouring it from a bottle directly into that second cup.
Yeah,
You pour it again into the kosher bracha and transfer some more.
yeah,
Leave a revius in your cup for you.
right. Okay.
I think what Harold was asking was in the cup you pour the second cup that the person making Kiddush pours into,
Yes.
can you pour more wine into that cup before you distribute it?
So that's what
Well,
Harold was
that's
asking.
what we all do.
So I told Harold that I think it makes sense to take the bottle of wine, pour it into the original kosher bracha,
Yeah,
and put it into the second cup. Maybe you could pour it directly into the second cup as well, because it already has wine that from the kosher bracha in it's going to be diluted. So it's going to be mixed with it. I'm not sure that that's enough kamina. I think you could probably get away with doing it either way.
Oh.
I was thinking about those devices where you pour the cup into a thing and it's like 8 different things and it funnels
the pisher.
the various those various silver. I don't think that's a problem. That's like a second coast, which you haven't drunk from your wine. It's the same thing.
Mhm.
You're giving directly a coast to everybody. I don't see that wouldn't fit in here. Not everybody has such a gizmo, but okay. Now comes a big bugaboo. Kiddush b'mokum suda. The requirement that Kiddush has to be made in the place where you're going to have a suda. The Gemara Masechta Pesachim discusses another geder, another requirement for fulfilling the mitzvah of Kiddush, known as Kiddush b'mokum suda, reciting the Kiddush in the location of the meal. The Gemara states that with respect to the practice of reciting Kiddush in shul Friday night, Rav holds that anyone may fulfill their obligation through listening to it, even if they later eat at home. Shmuel and other Amei Roim are of the opinion that only guests of the community who eat their meal in the shul fulfill their obligation through the Kiddush that's recited in shul, because then it fulfills Kiddush b'mokum suda. This is also the accepted halacha. Says the Gemara Masechta Pesachim. Also, b'nei adam shekitru b'beis hakneset. We're talking about after Ma'ariv, the gabbai of the shul makes Kiddush in the shul. There are travelers, people who are not being invited to someone's house. They are motzi Kiddush through listening to that. And shuls, I guess, used to have food that travelers would be able to eat in the shul.
So for Aniyim, we didn't have, they would eat their meals in shul.
In shul. Amar Rav, Yidei yayin lo yatsu, Yidei kiddush yatsu. They were yotze kiddush, but not yayin. Shmuel Amar Af Yidei kiddush lo yatsu. Shmuel says they weren't yotze either. Ushmuel lamali lekidusha b'beik nishta. So according to Shmuel, what's the whole point of making kiddush in shul? According to Shmuel, we've determined that you need to make kiddush b'mokum suda. What's the whole point of making kiddush in shul? So lafuke orchi b'dei chavosan, the ochlu v'shasu v'ganu b'nei kedishta. They ate, drank, and slept in the shul. So it fulfills it for the orchim. V'oz the Shmuel tamei. Shmuel is consistent. To Omer Shmuel, ein kiddush el b'mokum suda. Svor minei hani milam v'mibayis. 'Cause, 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 ' So you're going from different places to eat your Shabbos meal in a different place than you heard Kiddush. But let's say you're in one house, you went from the living room to the dining room. He's still at, there's no problem. He's fulfilled his mitzvah of Kiddush. I was once by Shmuel. He was in the second story, and he didn't make Kiddush there. He came down to the ground floor, and he recited Kiddush again. That if you recited Kiddush, but you're going to eat somewhere else, you got to recite Kiddush a second time. Rava Savar ain't Kiddush al Makam Suda. Rabbi held the same thing. Dom Rabaya, Kiavina Bein Mar, Kiavim Makadish Amarlan, Timi Midi. When we made Kiddush, he would say, eat something. Because Dilma das Lilisulish Bizis Misakra Lachusharga. Because by the time you go back to where you're sleeping, the light will be out. You won't be able to recite Kiddush there where you're going to eat. So eat a little bit of food here. Right? If you don't eat a little bit here, you won't be Mekayim the mitzvah of Kiddush. The Rashbam offers two possible reasons for the obligation to recite Kiddush where you eat. Afide Kiddush liyatsu, Kiddush Kideparshinan Tame Lakame, Ein Kiddush al Makom Suda, the Chsiv, the Karasa la Shabbos Oneg. You shall call Shabbos an enjoyment. Meaning, b'makom she'ata kor l'Shabbos, kloimer kaya de Kiddush, that means the place where you declared Shabbos, that means you recite Kiddush, sham tehei oneg. That's where your meal should be. Umidrashu. It's a derivation from a pasuk. Or, says the Gemara, or says the Rashbam, Inami Svarahu, Midi Ikva Kiddush alayayin. Since he decided to make Koivea Kiddush on wine, Kiddetani Lakamon Zachre alayayin, Mistom alayayin Shabashad Suda Hukba. Must be that the wine that it's talking about is the wine connected to the meal. That makes chashivas to the wine. So the Rashbam, as well as many of the Rishonim, write that we paskin like Shmuel, that Kiddush has to be recited b'makom Suda. If so, we must now analyze a number of different aspects to determine how do we fulfill this practically. How do we define a meal? Does it refer to bread? What about cake? What about fruit? For example, in shul, when we make Kiddush, like Shabbos morning, before we come home, how do we make Kiddush? Is it considered Malkum Suda? We don't have bread there. You have cake. You have other kind of food. Does that fulfill Malkum Suda? What is the definition of the place of the meal? Does a different location in the same house qualify? Is there any limitation on the amount of time between the Kiddush and the meal? So we'll go through this one by one. Meal in the language of Chazal usually requires bread. The two, according to Gaonim, were of the view that one need not eat a whole meal in the place where one recites Kiddush. It's sufficient simply to eat a small amount of bread or to drink a cup of wine. Says the Tur, Kosva Gaonim, Hadamir ein Kiddush el Makam Suda, ein tzarich sheyigmor sham kol sudaso. It doesn't mean you should finish your meal there. El afilu ochel davar muad. You ate a small piece of bread, or shasa kos yayin, or you drank a cup, shechayv alav bracha, yatzidech, enough wine for which you're obligated to make a bracha, let's say a revius, the goimer sudas makam acher, and you can eat your meal somewhere else. So the Torah says bread or wine, but not fruit. Now, from Tosfos it appears that they did not agree with the leniency of the Gaonim that drinking wine suffices to fulfill Kiddush Bokam Suda. They explain that in the story told by Abai in the Gemara, Rabba told the students to eat bread in the place they heard Kiddush. Te'ima midi, nira, the Ainu timas lechem. Te'ima means eating bread, like we see in Perigimel de Shavuos. Kedamri in shinita midi, let's eat something. Vazi v'achli v'shasu. And then they went and they drank, ate and drank. V'imoil mini targima. And if this, like appetizers, suffices lashlim gimel suda Shabbos, kimo besukkah. According to Rabbi Eliezer, you have to eat 14 meals in the sukkah over the 7 days of sukkahs. You can eat non-bread foods according to Rabbi Eliezer. We don't paskin that way, but we see that it's sometimes targima, but if it's going to work, that even appetizers on Shabbos will fulfill gimel sudos. Kimo besukkah, hainu davka besuda shlishis. That might be okay for suda shlishis. Avlo besuda sarvis for shachar shem ikar kovet Shabbos. So we learn a few things here from this Tosfos. The reason why shalosh shudis is not such a formal meal, because it's not as chashuv. We see Ma'ariv and the morning meal are the ikar kovet Shabbos is Tosfos, and the shalosh shudis, technically you might get away. That's why people eat fish, herring. Now we most wash as well. We do wash. So let's see the developments of the halacha. The Beis Yosef claims that it's possible that Tosfos agrees with the Gaonim, and only wrote that Rabbah told the students to eat bread to ensure that they fulfill the obligation of the Gimel Seudos of 3 meals on Shabbos, but not to fulfill the aspect of Kiddush B'Makom Suda. So the Shulchan Aruch gives us only the leniency of the Gaonim. Says the Shulchan Aruch in Reish Ayin Gimel, Ha de'ein Kiddush al Makom Suda, afilu achol davar mu'ed. He ate something small. Or shaza kos yain shechayv alav bracha. You drank a cup of wine, Yotze de Kiddush Makom Suda. The goymer sudas makom acher. You can finish your meal somewhere else. The davka achol lechem shasa yain, but you have to eat bread or wine. Aval achol peiros lo. What does the Ramah say? Ulafi zeh hayamuter lemoyel lesandik lishtos mikos shel mila b'Shabbos b'shachris. The moil and the sandik who holds the baby. So this is touching, I think, on that you're not allowed to drink something normally before Kiddush. And so they could drink from the kos of yayin that was used when you made the milah. But the minig is for them not to drink it, to give it to a child. Let's see the footnote. It's customary to recite the bracha that follows the bris milah together with the naming of the child on a cup of wine. The Ramah is saying that when a brit is held on Shabbos after the tefillah, in principle, the mol or sandik could recite the bracha as kiddush. Because remember, Shabbos morning, you don't have to say Vayichulu and the whole thing. Kiddush Rabbah, Shabbos morning is just Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Bo'er Hagafen. That's Kiddush. So the Ramah is saying that they could use that bracha as Kiddush, fulfill the requirement of Kiddush Makom Suda by drinking the cup of wine. He concludes, though, that the wine is generally given to a child instead that has reached the age of chinuch, so he can later fulfill the requirement of Kiddush Makom Suda according to all opinions. Because if it was only be by drinking wine, not everybody holds that that's considered b'makom suda. So that's why we give it to a child. Practically, there are various customs as to whether to follow the Ramah, to fulfill Kiddush B'Makom Suda with a cup of wine, or possibly drinking additional wine, as the Mishnah Berurah mentions. All would agree if he eats a kazayas of mizonos food shortly after the bracha, that is sufficient.
Even in the end, the bottom of page 82, we give the Mishnah Berurah's opinion. He says this is only if he ate bread or drank wine, but not if he only ate fruit. What about mizonos?
We're going to get. We just said all would agree if he eats a kazayas of mizonos food shortly after the bracha, that would be sufficient.
That's the moil, but in Shabbos in general, at the bottom of page 82, he talks about bread and fruit. He doesn't say anything about mazonos.
No, the bottom of, we don't
Look
have.
at the very last, Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim 273.5. Only if he ate bread or drank wine, but not only if he ate fruit, but he doesn't mention anything about mazonos.
So, okay, so the Mishnah Berurah is going to comment on that on page 83.
Okay.
So
Because here he says mazonos will do it. And so by the moel.
So right now, when we brought this halacha of the moel, the Mishnah Berurah says mazonos will work. And now let's see the Mishnah Berurah himself about the rest of us, not moelim. When we leave shul and we go make kiddush, is mazonos considered makam suda?
Right.
So davar muat. So it says the Mishnah Berurah, "Hainu al kol ponim shir kazayis." When it says a small amount, it means a kazayis. Shechayv alav bracha atarvayu koi. Okay. O shasa yayin. V'koshken im achal mine targima. Here it is. He ate of the 5 species of grain. It says v'kol sheken. He says it's even better than wine.
Right.
Mechamisha minim diyatza. Deim chashivit tefillah suda Shabbos meyayin. It's more important for suda Shabbos than yayin. Aval sheikh harashar mashkim. So everyone should listen. Beer or other beverages. I think he means schnapps. Afilu mayu charma medina and yotzibam b'makom suda. So at least, so you have to have a piece of cake if you can have schnapps. That'll cover you. But the schnapps alone will not. The loisor alev kamo yayin. Those beverages will not fulfill your heart. I am the Chedusha Gon Rabbi Kiva Eger, Uve Sefer Shabbos. Another sefer, Shoichichu, the Lakabe Rishonim, some of the Rishonim we've learned tonight, and he also did Kiddush Bokum Sari de Kos Yain. So that's why Al Nira Shein La'akal B'Zel B'Mokum Atchak. So don't just drink wine. And then he says Pero slow, but Chamisha Minim Nikra Mozon. And yayin soid alef sort of satiates the heart. If you eat a lot of fruit or melon, like the fruit plates they put out, it's not a suda. The minute to go to a chosin or mila ve'in sham kistin achar kiddush, and there are no grains after kiddush, only fruit. You shouldn't eat there. And it's not enough if the person who made kiddush drank the whole thing. Afshu maslik revius, even holds a revius. By turn the Mishnah Berurah. The fact that the Mekadesh drank doesn't help anybody else to fulfill the concept of kiddush makam suda. V'nei b'shilta giborim kosov. Dafa Peres died. So the Shiltei Giborim says fruit is enough. The Cholsuda Shabbos nech Shabbos kva. The fact that you're eating it on Shabbos makes it a koveya. Ach das hatur v'shulchan aruch iker. The Magen Avraham rejects the Shiltei Giborim, who's also a Rishon. He says the Torah in the Shulchan Aruch is more acceptable. Ach im chalash libo ktsas. But listen, he's hungry. Ve'en lo atam mechameshes aminim lisod achar hakos. He wants to make kiddush, but he doesn't have bread. He doesn't have cake. You can rely to eat fruit. Kashir, you have to drink a revius. You have to drink another revius. So how do we summarize? One may eat other grain products whose bracha is mezonos instead of bread or wine after kiddush, and it makes that kiddush b'makom suda. Not all agree with the leniency that wine is permitted, so one should only rely on it in case of need. But you can drink an additional cup of wine, then it would be considered by everyone b'makom suda. One may not normally eat fruit to fulfill kiddush b'makom suda, but in case of need, one may rely on the lenient opinion of the Shiltei Giborim And they said mainly in the daytime, not to rely on that at night. According to what we have seen, one must eat bread, grain products, or possibly drink wine to fulfill the requirement of Kiddush Mokum Suda. And the Pnei Halacha summarizes it. L'das hagoni mimein mezonus mokum HaKiddush. If there's no cake, after l'kayim sasuda smuch l'kiddush, you can call it a suda b'shtiyas revius yain. The fact that you drank a revius of wine. Mipnei shayayin mezin v'soid. It fills you. B'shas atchak after lismach al daitam. You can rely on this opinion. B'shas atchak. Ela shebikiddush halayla sheyisodu me'ator yakpid ha'mekadosh lishtos revius yain. B'nosaf l'shir mali lukmo. At night, when the source of Kiddush is Minat Torah, you should be makpid to drink another revius yain besides the cheekful, another 75 cc's. K'dei lo tzei sidei Kiddush. Ushar shamim yicholim listakmi b'shtiyas revius. The other people would also rely on that. Aval im shama Kiddush b'beis haknesses. Somebody heard Kiddush in shul. B'shasamat mitz. Only drank some juice. V'tam pachos mikazayis bezonos. Less than a kazayis bezonos. Lo yatsi de choves HaKiddush. V'lo zebulvad al shagam over al divrei chachamim shasu lecho v'lishos v'akiddush. And your Kiddush wasn't a good Kiddush, and you ate something, so you violated that Isser. So it's like a catch-22. This is the most accepted approach, that one may fulfill the requirement of Kiddush Mokum Suda with bread, mizonos, food, and possibly wine. The Gra, citing the Bir Halacha, rules more stringently. Then one must eat the full Shabbos meal together with the Kiddush. And otherwise, it would not be possible to recite Kiddush. And some poskim suggest following his ruling. See Truvas Vanagos, that's Rav Sternbuch, who is stringent in accordance with the Gra to recite Kiddush before eating the Shabbos day meal. Rav Yosha Ber Soloveitchik is also reported to have suggested to make Kiddush only when one eats Shabbos lunch. He also defended the custom of having Kiddush in shul by invoking the Ravid, who holds that one may eat before Kiddush on Shabbos morning. Rav Moshe Feinstein also has a unique approach to this question, which leads him to rule that one should recite Kiddush before any meal on Shabbos, not just lunch. I don't know what everybody else's minig is, but my minig is to make Kiddush at shul, and there's mezonos there, so I'll have a mezonos, so that's considered Kiddush Mokum Suda. But when I come home and I eat my meal, I make a Kiddush again by Mokum Suda when I'm about to eat my lunch to fulfill this. Yaakov, do you do the same thing?
Yeah. Does he say Rav Moshe says you have to make Kiddush before Shalosh Shudas? Because I think I was only once in the yeshiva for Shalosh Shudas, and I don't remember Kiddush. But is that what he's suggesting?
Yeah. Well, we do it Friday night, and we do it Shabbos lunch. I've never seen Kiddush recited by Shalosh Shudas.
No. I mean, I guess according to, I never heard this. I have to check it out. I guess what he
But
says,
there's a minute to drink wine. Though.
If you have a meal in the afternoon on Shabbos, you're hungry and you.
There's a minute to drink some wine.
Sorry?
Well, Abe,
There's a minute to drink wine.
Abe, that minig is all you need for Kiddush. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam b'oipur hagafen. So those that do it Shalosh Shudas are being noited to that opinion of Rav Moshe. If those people that you've seen make a b'oipur hagafen by Shalosh Shudas, I'm not talking about that they use a kos for the benching. Some make they're following Rav Moshe's thing about making Kiddush before every meal. But that's not what we are. You see, there is the Gra of Yosheber want you to make Kiddush when you eat Shabbos lunch. I don't know what he means. Why do you have, if you have Kiddush in Shul, he's invoking the Ravid that you may eat before Kiddush Shabbos morning, but you're making Kiddush in Shul. So I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know why you need the kul of the Ravid. You're making Kiddush, and the Kiddush of Malkam Suda. Because you have cake in your Kiddush at the Shul.
Well, I think it follows the previous sentence where he says that Rav Soloveitchik said to make Kiddush only when one eats Shabbos lunch.
Right. And he
And that means not in
defended,
shul. Then he
he
said he also
defended the
defended the
custom.
custom.
So he defended the custom of having Kiddush in Shul by invoking the Ravid who holds that one may eat before Kiddush on Shabbos morning. But you're making Kiddush in Shul, so you're not eating before Kiddush. Unless he doesn't consider that Kiddush.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that Kiddush counts.
So
So
what
it's
is?
like eating before Kiddush.
So how is he defending? So you ate before Kiddush.
Right.
So when we make Kiddush in Shul, we're using the Ravid. It's not really a Kiddush.
So eating without Kiddush.
Even though we're making a Borei Piragafen. And on Shabbos, daytime, when you make the Borei Piragafen, that's the Kiddush that you need. We need to talk to one of the Talmidim of Yoshe Ber. We have to understand this better. The Bir Halacha says, "V'sefer Ma'aser Rav Kosher Shagraf B'Kir Sheyom Layim HaKadosh El Makam Suda Gemura V'lo Mini Targimo Yayim." He wouldn't rely on the other stuff. Okay. So let's see what about the proximity of Kiddush to the meal? The Ramah writes in the name of the Mariel that the requirement of Kiddush Malkam Suda does not only dictate what must eat together with the Kiddush, it also dictates that one must start the meal immediately after Kiddush. Tzarech lechol Malkam Kiddush la'alter. You have to eat right away. Or you have to have that in mind. Means if you delay too much after you made Kiddush to eating, you haven't fulfilled Kiddush Malkam Suda. The Mishnah Berurah Shmir Shibis Kalacha confirmed that practically one should try to perform the Tilas Yadayim as soon as possible following Kiddush, not delay. This is actually explicit in the words of the Mariel. The Aruch HaShulchan says taking a break isn't a problem. La'alter v'lo yafsik afil zman kotzer. Now,
by the way, Ernie,
yes, Walter.
as I asked Rabbi Kirshner, he doesn't make Kiddush in the shul. I ask him, why don't you make Kiddush in the shul? He says, no, he doesn't eat too much, but I have a feeling that he holds by the halacha that that he only makes Kiddush when he goes home and he can do Netilat Yadayim so he can have the Suda.
Like this Gra, like the Rav Yoshe Ber.
Yeah.
And that Rav Yoshe Ber is relying on us. We're doing it, but we're not. I mean, Rabbi Einorn used to make Kiddush, but he made sure that he could look out and see the cake. He always was learning that Kiddush was considered a Malkam Suda.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you what.
And maybe based on that, you wouldn't make Kiddush again when you go home. We have to clarify.
I don't know how you go. It seems that you need Netilat Yadayim with Kiddush. It doesn't seem that you can just do Kiddush alone.
That's what we all do in shul. We never wash.
I'm not saying that we don't do that. I'm just saying that seems to be what that's what Rav Moshe Paskins.
Well, Rav Moshe, they didn't say Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe said you have to make Kiddush for every meal. That's the point he made. But in the Eretz that Rav Urshel Shechter, in the Eretz Tzvi, brings the leniency of Rav Yoshe Ber invoking the Ravid. Okay.
Many shuls, including Shar Tzedek, as you may have noticed already when you're here,
They put out challah.
Well, no, they do that, but they put out, Kiddush is made in shul before we go downstairs. There's nothing in the shul when Kiddush is made, and then you go downstairs and you have the Kiddush. I mean,
But
the
Yaakov,
food.
that may be problematic.
Well, I guess we'll have to talk to Rabbi
We're gonna
Rosenberg.
see the location of the meal, moving to another room. I think there are probably leniencies, but I know there were people makpid to make sure they could see where the kiddush is before they make that communal kiddush. That's why many rabbanim only
Right.
make it, they come into the place where the kiddush is.
Yeah, but people are afraid that people will eat
Exactly.
without making the kiddush. That's why that's the doichak. So they make the kiddush in the shul that everybody's yoytze on the kiddush, whoever drank, and obviously that person has in mind is going to have a piece of cake wherever it may be, or mazoinas, and then they go to make kiddush because they know that some people will just go and eat.
Okay, so now that's why we have to learn this concept of making kiddush and moving to another room, right? We saw in the Gemara that Shmuel was particular to recite kiddush in the same room that he had his meal. Now, if we're saying that the food stuffs that are present at the kiddush, i.e., the leikach and the honey cake, is what we're relying on, so you've got to be in the same room as the food. The Gemara also says that one cannot fulfill his obligation by listening to the kiddush recited in shul unless he eats there. The implication is that even if kiddush is recited with the intention to move subsequently to another room, it's not defined as b'makom suda. The Rosh quotes Rav Nissim Gaon, who infers from the Yerushalmi that such intention, if you have intention to move to another room, it's valid. Rabbeinu Nissim quotes from Megillah Story. That which we said it doesn't work. Hainu, that's in the case. That's, he thought wherever he was making kiddush, that's where he thought he was going to eat. And then he changed his mind. Then it won't work. Initially, when he making the kiddush in the shul, kiddush he had in mind that, we're going to move and eat in a different room. Yatzadei kiddush. The heavy raya me'adam Rabbi Yerushalmi. Rabbeinu Nissim brought proof from Yerushalmi b'sof ketzat mevarchim. Mi shesukoso areva alav. Leil yontav ha'achron. So somebody has it's a beautiful weather. He has a beautiful sukkah. It's now Shmini Atzeres. So normally we don't eat in the sukkah Shmini Atzeres. So what he does is makadish beves. So the olav ochel b'sukkoso. Remember, there's a problem. If you make kiddush in the sukkah, it looks like you're Bal Toisif. It's only 7 days of sukkahs, not 8. We do it misafek, right? We're in Golus, but in Eretz Yisrael, we're talking about, let's say, in Eretz Yisrael. Shmini Atzeres is not sukkahs. So, but let's say it's really pleasant in your sukkah. So don't make kiddush there, make kiddush inside, and you can go outside and have your meal there. Because what's happening? You're making kiddush in your house, but you're eating somewhere else. You're having in mind to do it, and therefore it works. That's the raya. It's not really arguing with argument. That a condition works l'shmuel. That worked, for example, from the ground to the roof, or from the house to the sukkah. But let's say you're going to go to a different house. Vadai polik. That somebody made a kiddush in shul and went to eat somewhere else, that's not going to work. But Rav was more lenient. So according to Rav Nissim Gaon, based upon his understanding of the Yerushalmi, one may recite kiddush in one location, move to a different building, if one had intent to do so at the time of the kiddush. The Rosh suggests, but both Yerushalmi and Bavli would permit having intent to move after kiddush when one changes location within one house or building, but not when one moves to a different house. But the Ran rejects this distinction and writes that according to Yerushalmi, one may recite Kiddush with intent to change locations, even another building. The Bavli holds that intent to move locations after Kiddush is never effective, even when moving to another area of the same building. Says the Ranikim Manda Omar, the way in the Yerushalmi where it says that the person had in mind to eat somewhere else and it works, that's Hanimim by sukkah. That's from a bias to a sukkah. That's like when Shmuel went from the roof to the floor. When Pina appeared from one corner to another corner. The law of Yeshinikul, it's not a great chain. The Chimash more dilam, but Bavli, the law of Hanimim by the bias. But when our Bavli said no, maybe that's from house to house. Says the Ran Veloni here, it's not, I don't agree. The Kivan Delinian Kiddush, Dine, Mipina Lepina, Kimibais Labayas, that regarding Kiddush, going from one corner to one corner is like going from house to house, like a Leflugi Binayu. And nobody's going to argue with that. The Sud de Bishlam and Ma'ar La'agra Chazu Adadi, from a roof to a floor, that's not a problem. But Sukkah, Milo Askinan, the base of Kanvas of Kosim Masum a house and Sukkah in two different places. Davalemi Bais Labais, Elevated Yerushalmi Pligi. But I can more Didonaktin. The Yerushalmi argues, says you're allowed to go from Bais to Bais, but Bavli says no. The Shulchan quotes both views. The Ramah rules leniently, in accordance with the distinction made by Rabbeinu Nissim. Ein Kiddush al Makam Suda. One in one building, you're in one corner, you go to another corner, that's one place. He made Kiddush in this corner, ate in that corner, that's fine. Afilu who truck and Gadol, even if it's the gym at Yavna, ain't no tzarech l'asur l'kadosh. Umibais l'sukkah chashuv mipina lepina. The Ramah says from a bais to a sukkah is going corner to corner. Yesh Omrim, here's where that thing comes in. Kol sharoem makomo, as long as you can see the place. Afilu mibais l'chotzer, ain't no tzarech l'asur l'kadosh. Which implies if you can't see the place, it won't work. The Yeshomrim says that if you make Kiddush in one place and you have a mind to eat somewhere else, it works. As long as they're in one building. From the roof to the ground. The Chaynikar says the Ramah. If you made Kiddush and you had in mind to eat in that house, but then you change, you have to make another Kiddush. Rav Yitzchak Yosef writes that if one is both able to see the place in which he recited Kiddush from the place that he moves to, and has intention to move while reciting Kiddush, he may move even from house to house without hesitation. He's going to go from house to house. He can see it. You can go to the other place. The Bir Halacha takes a similar approach. According to Chafetz Chaim, even the Ramah's leniency of moving locations in one house or building, when one had intent to do so, applies only in the case of need. But ideally, one should rely on this leniency if one can also see the original location at the new location to comply with the more stringent opinions. That's why I remember people would be makpid to try to see where the place is. Says the Bir Allah, you shouldn't do it l'chatchila, b'makam doichek. The Magen Avraham, Magen Avraham doesn't want you to go from corner to corner. But I know we wrote in the Shar Tzia not to be machmir. Going from room to room, you should be concerned about the ran. If he sees it, near the yesh lahakil. If he has in mind, you can see the courtyard from where you are, and so it could be Yaakov that the Kiddush that's being recited in the Shul Chayt, they're relying on the leniency of having intent to move from cheder to cheder and even from bias to bias. Let's see what Rav Simcha Bunim Cohn says. One who wishes to make Kiddush in one room and eat in a different room must not only have this in mind while making Kiddush, he must also be able to see the place where he made Kiddush from the room where he will be eating. If both these conditions have not been met, one may not switch rooms for the meal. However, if one did so and ate his meal there, he need not repeat Kiddush if at least one of the above requirements has been made. Either he had it in mind to change rooms where he made Kiddush, or the place where he made Kiddush is visible. So I guess that's enough, Yaakov. If you have in mind that you're going to change rooms when you make Kiddush, even though it's not visible, you have one of these things. If there are extenuating circumstances, and what Walter said, that people are going to eat without making Kiddush, maybe that's considered an extenuating circumstance. One is permitted to switch to a second room if at least one of the above requirements have been met. That's what may be what the Rabbanim are relying on. One may not make Kiddush in one house and eat in another house, even if he had in mind to do so when making Kiddush. And even if the house on which he made Kiddush is visible from the house, you can't do it, bias to bias. However, in circumstances where it's not possible to have the meal in the same building as the Kiddush, it may be eaten in a second building, provided one can see from there the place where he recited Kiddush. Let's apply what we have learned to the following practical case. If Kiddush is recited in a shul sanctuary on Shabbos morning, like at Shari Tzedek, it would seem that one may fulfill one's obligation for Kiddush B'Makam Suda, L'chatchila, only if the food is served inside the shul building, and one can see the sanctuary from there. If the food is served in a different area of the building, one should ideally recite Kiddush there. However, if an important need exists for reciting Kiddush in the sanctuary, like what Walter said, people may begin eating otherwise before hearing Kiddush, and there's not enough wine or grape juice for those who wish to recite their own Kiddush. One may be lenient and have intent during the Kiddush to move to the location of the food shortly thereafter. If the social hall or other location where the food is served is outside or in a different building from the shul sanctuary, it would be permitted only if the same important need exists, and if one can see the original location from the new location. Okay. Machshava. We learned above that one of the primary reasons for covering the challah when reciting Kiddush is not to embarrass the challah when reciting Kiddush first, even though normally the bracha upon bread precedes the bracha on wine. Many people wonder why we must be so careful about the dignity of the challah. The challah has no feelings. The following story with Rav Yisrael Salanter answers this question powerfully. Rav Yisrael Salanter, the 19th century founder of the Musar movement, once found himself stranded in Kovna for the Shabbos. Everyone wished to invite him, but when he discovered that the local baker had no young mouths to feed at home, and so he wouldn't be taking away anyone's portion of food, the great rabbi accepted the baker's invitation. The baker was an observant Jew, but hardly a great Torah scholar, or even a man of great intelligence. He entered his house with the revered luminary and immediately bellowed, Yidina, my wife, why are the challahs not covered? How many times must I remind you? The woman, immediately recognizing her distinguished guest, had tears in her eyes, and she secured the challah cover, which had already been prepared. The baker, full of self-pride, invited Rav Yisrael to sanctify the wine. One moment, said Rav Salanter, can you tell me why we cover the challahs? He asked. Of course, revered Rabbi, responded the baker. Every child knows the answer when there are many different foods on the table. The first blessing is always made over the bread, after which no other blessing need be made. On Friday night, however, the first blessing has to be made over the wine because of Kiddush. Therefore, so as not to shame the challah who expects the blessing over her, we must cover it until the sanctification of the wine. Rav Yisrael looked at the baker. Why do your ears not hear what your mouth is saying? Do you think that our Jewish tradition does not understand that a piece of dough has no feelings and would never become embarrassed? Understand that our laws are trying to sensitize us to the feelings of human beings, our friends, our neighbors, and especially our wives. Rav Mordechai Kamenetsky tells a similar story about Rav Shraga Feigl Mendelovich, the founder of Torah Vodaas. Rav Shraga Feigl Mendelovich was the founder of Yeshiva Torah Vodaas. He once stayed in Miami for Shabbos at the home of a former student. The man escorted the Rebbe home from the synagogue, but when he opened the door, the young man was shocked and embarrassed. His wife, exhausted from a week's worth of child rearing and responsible for keeping home, was sprawled on the couch. The Shabbos table was half set, the dishes placed in a pile next to the Kiddush cup and wine. In front of the head seat were 2 large challahs sitting uncovered. The custom is to cover the chalas when making Kiddush. As the blessing over bread normally precedes that of wine, it is a somewhat metaphorical endorsement to the bread that is thus covered during the Kiddush. The student was embarrassed at the state of affairs, called out to his wife in a somewhat demeaning manner. Please let us prepare the table in its entirety. Turning to his mentor of the Shrug of Feivel, he exclaimed, I'm sure that leaving the bread uncovered was an oversight. Everyone knows, he exclaimed, shifting his self-inflicted embarrassment upon his wife, that we must cover the challah before the Kiddush. Rav Mendelovich was annoyed at the man's self-righteous behavior and turned to him. Over the years, I've heard many problems that people face. Students, couples, adults from all walks of life have entered my office to discuss their personal situations. Not once did a challah ever enter my office suffering an inferiority complex because it was left uncovered. You know why? Because we're not concerned with the challah. We are concerned with making ourselves cognizant of feelings. We worry about challahs because the goal is to worry about people. How then can you embarrass your wife over not covering the challah when the act of covering is supposed to train you in sensitivity? We should bear in mind that halacha is often not only about following a rule without appreciating the reason for it, rather, it's designed to teach us profound lessons about how to improve our character traits and treat others properly. Every time we cover the chalas, let us remember these stories and strive to improve our respect and honor, given not just to our food, but also to our fellow humans as well.
I didn't know that Tzurba was a Musa Sefer as well. It's a good Musa. Okay.
Very good. Any other comments, ha'aros, questions? So Yaakov, is your issue resolved?
Ernie, what happens if Kiddush
Well,
is
sort
only-
of. I mean,
Sort of.
you can't see the
Right.
you can't see the place where we have Kiddush from the shul. You can see the shul from where we have Kiddush, but you can't see the place where we have Kiddush. You know, you go downstairs. You can't see that from inside the shul.
Yeah.
But having said that, I know Rabbi Rosenberg is a substantial, large Talmud Chacham, and so he's clearly knows the halachas and he's got it right.
Right.
Absolutely.
No question about it.
Yes, Bernie.
We have the same situation in Yavne where you cannot see from the cafeteria, you cannot see the shul.
Yeah, but nobody's been making kiddush in shul, have they?
Sure.
No, I'm not asking that, but I'm saying the issue there is there's no wine at the Kiddush table. It's whiskey.
No, that's not true.
No, there is grape juice. There is
There's
grape. I
grape
make
juice.
kiddush on grape juice.
Everybody wants to make on grape juice is welcome too. Just because everybody makes on Chamra doesn't mean that it's not Kiddush either.
Well, just make sure you have Malay Lugba.
No, we learned that you can make kiddush.
That we make sure all the time.
Well, I know how to make kiddush in shul, and you would make a mazonos immediately in shul. That's how we did it.
And that's it. And we fulfilled kiddush b'malkam suda. But the way Rav Yoshe Ber is learning that, and by the Gra, that it's really our kiddush at home before our suda, before we make the tzitzadam, that's the real kiddush. And we're by eating in shul, it's not really kiddush. And that we're allowed to eat is based on the raiva that allows you to eat before kiddush.
Listen,
That's what's coming out. That's what comes out.
Listen, the Kiddush Club is moitzi all the people in the shul anyway when it's not.
Chaim, you're thinking about it, huh? Okay. Good
Okay.
night, everybody. Good
Good
cheers.
night, everybody.
Chag Sameach.